What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about the long guard, this Muay Thai style defense that can be so effective. Case in point, Superbon versus Giorgio Petrosyan. He utilized this so nicely. We're going to go through the technique and how you can utilize it, when it's effective, the holes in it, because there are holes, and we're going to use video footage to demonstrate all these strengths and weaknesses in today's episode. We are talking, guys, about the long guard. Guys, before we get to the long guard, get this episode completely underway, I want to take a moment and talk about Athlon Rub. This is the Thai liniment that I only use now. I used to use the one that came from Thailand, but guess what? Filled up with dyes, not as healthy for you as this one. This one is FDA approved, has all sorts of fantastic stuff in it. If it's something you guys are interested in utilizing, you can take the link down below, save 15%, try it out. I guarantee you, you will love it. The smell is amazing, and it's just helped me so much keep my body going on those rough days when everything hurts. All right, now that I'm linimented and warmed up, let's grab a pair of gloves here and let's start talking about this long guard. So first, let's break down the technique of the long guard. There are a number of ways to execute it. The main thing that we are trying to do, if I'm facing towards you guys, is to get one arm straight out. But first thing, the arm that stretches out, we have to be very aware that we're not just throwing it out like a punch. We have this shoulder nice and high. This is going to protect the side of my head. You can see I go from here, I raise it up. Also, the palm is going to be the part that comes and controls our opponent. We're basically putting a stiff arm out to stop them from being able to come down the middle with any shots and stop their body from being able to move forward. If I get my palm into somebody's shoulder, chest, face, they are not within range for uppercuts and hooks. And if my arm is right down the middle, I'll block all the straight punches. So we understand now what this arm is doing. What is this arm doing? Well, this one you have two options. Number one, I stick this arm out. This one comes right to there. This is protecting my head to the side. This is what we saw Superbon use very recently in his fight. He would just come right up the middle like this. Sometimes when we see Buakaw execute, he comes like this. Elbow was protecting the side of the head, but he also gets the top or the forehead of the face completely blocked as well. So you can either come to here or to here. Either one is fine. I like utilizing both. Just kind of switch in the moment. Now let's talk about what our leg does, because we could very easily just post up in either direction and just keep our feet on the ground. But we can also lift up and get our leg checking. When we get our leg up and we check, we've closed off any low kick attacks that are going to come. At the same time, we've protected most of the head, and we've started maintaining a range between our opponent and ourselves. It's very difficult to get combinations going on somebody when there's a long guard in your face, or at least for the average person. We will be talking about the weaknesses of this very soon. So if you're interested in trying to utilize the long guard, the first thing that you can really make sure you do is if somebody is attacking towards you, just take a little step back. As you take your step back, you time sticking out the long guard. I shift my weight to my back foot, I go to my long guard position, and a lot of times, like I said, I will elevate my leg. Now from here for a moment, I'm in a very safe position. Now, I don't want to hang out there too long because of course there are openings, but executing the long guard, and I want to take a look at Superbon right now, the number of times he was able to just stick this long guard out in Giorgio Petrosyan's face and nullify his offense. And that is something special because Giorgio is very good at finding openings. Stopping his offense, being able to nullify it, is something that not many people can do. So it goes to show you just how effective a long guard can be if executed very well. Now, we need to be very sure when we utilize the long guard that we're not exposing our head. So one of the very important aspects that a lot of people forget is, what are we doing with our chin? Should we go here, or should we go here, or should we go here? I like to go right down. And when we see Buakaw often execute a long guard, he's way here. His chin's way down, and he's basically looking through his eyebrows at his opponent. So if a shot does come, something does sneak through, it's going off his forehead and not his jaw. Now I want to move on to a moment when Masato knock somebody out who utilized the long guard improperly against him. This was back in 2003. I believe it was a tournament semi-final. Masato had already knocked this opponent down. The guy goes into sort of panic mode, utilizes a sloppy long guard, and Masato finds the opening. He finds the opening with the uppercut. And the uppercut is the big danger, because if you look at this positioning here, I come right to there. I'm going to raise up slightly so you guys can see, but obviously the uppercut is a big danger. My body's open, but the long guard exposes for the uppercut. Now what we want to do to eliminate that is make sure our hands do not go beyond our opponent. If my opponent is standing here and my hands go beyond, that means I've moved within uppercut range. So I have to be very careful to let the arm that goes straight not go beyond that opponent. It needs to go to his chest, his shoulder, or right up to their guard, right in their face. And now once I've done that, it's very hard for this guy to get by. And the only way he's going to land an uppercut is if he throws an extremely long one. But that will have less power than a short one like Masato managed to land. Now another danger of the long guard is if you have somebody like Masato who's very experienced, he will assess in the moment when that long guard goes out, what is open. And a prime example is right here. You can see in this video footage, Masato does a shot, he assesses, and then he comes around with a hook and lands a very effective shot. The thing with any guard, once you move your hands away, you start creating extra space. There's an advantage to having my hands here, but also an advantage here. But the disadvantage here is the longer I go out, the further my hands come, the more openings are created. So to think that the long guard is my only solution, is the only thing that will work, that is not true. You need to have alternatives. But it can be very effective, and if your opponent is not figuring out how to get around the long guard or how to land shots, then you keep on utilizing it. But as soon as you feel like, uh-oh, this guy's figured it out, you need to revert back to a nice tight defense, because yes, from here, there are openings. Body, uppercut, side of the head very often, depending on which way the guy chooses. If he goes 2 arms out for the long guard, then the head is very open on both sides for hooks. Let's talk quickly about Buakaw utilizing the long guard. It's something he does very frequently in his fights. Now, one of the things that I like that Buakaw does, as opposed to other fighters, is instead of coming right to here, like Superbon does with this tight guard, this is great. This is a great guard here for making sure you defend the hook on this side. But Buakaw will come like this very often. And I like this one because I feel like it closes off the head even more. From here, nobody's going to land a hook. The front or top of my head is covered. And then I can go right down to the chest. And I find it's much easier to control the chest as opposed to going up to head level with this straight arm. If I go up high, the guy can easily move his head to the side and attack. But when I come to the chest, he's not going to be able to do anything because he has to take a massive step to the side to get around that straight arm. Utilizing the long guard is really a trial and error thing. Much like any defense, you have to test it out and see if it works for you. And then make little tweaks. Do you want to go the way that Superbon does? Do you want to go hand positioning like Buakaw? Do you want to elevate the leg this way or that way? It doesn't really matter. You got to play around and see what works best for you. In my experience, I don't mind if I come this way, or this way, or this way, but I don't go like this. This is not my preference. I prefer to come up high with the elbow. This is the one that works best for me. I just found throughout the years that I feel more exposed in this position as opposed to here. Again, personal preference. You try it out, you see what works, and you add it to your repertoire of defensive techniques. The easiest way to start getting good at this is have your pad holder occasionally just walk towards you. You know, either holding for you, jab, cross, hook. Cross, cross, hook, jab, cross, jab. Then they just walk in, and as soon as they walk in, you just stop them. Hand to the chest. Stop them. Hand to the chest. You can even get them to step in and do a couple sloppy swings at you, and you just make sure you get used to stopping them and also blocking any shots off to the side. As I mentioned, the uppercut is the big danger. If you are hanging out in this position and you see an uppercut coming, you can either get your elbow across, or if your elbow was already high, you're going to have to very quickly get a hand down to block. That is the one danger of this, that from here, the uppercut is very open, and you do have to alter your hand position to protect yourself. You just hang out there, and that uppercut flies in and you do nothing, you will get knocked out the way Masato knocked out that Thai fighter. So the long guard, it's not just a Muay Thai technique. that only works in Muay Thai. It can be used in kickboxing. It could even be used in MMA. Of course, the takedowns from this position are going to be a little easier to accomplish, but if you're in an MMA fight and you're strictly striking, there's not much takedown happening, you can, of course, just stick your hand out and then create that distance. Remember, always backing up, taking a little step backwards is also a good idea, as opposed to just standing your ground stiff-legged and not even giving up an inch or two. Just that little subtle step back just helps, in my opinion, create a little bit more safety, a little bit more time for you to make hand adjustments if needed. So guys, the long guard, is it something that you utilize? Is it something that you're going to start utilizing now that you've seen this episode? Throw it in the comments below. If you guys haven't already, please give the video a like, join the channel, and get subscribed. Train hard, guys. I'll see you back here soon for another video.